Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, Math Made Easy with Terry in 10 minutes. We're talking about increasing and decreasing function today, okay? We're talking about how do we solve questions that we're told to differentiate if a set of values is an increasing function or if that set of values is a decreasing function, okay? So before I proceed, like I always say, don't forget to like, subscribe, or share, and make sure that you review the past videos because especially inequalities, especially in my previous videos on how to differentiate and the mechanisms of differentiating. All right, let's start now. So when we say an increasing or decreasing function, we're talking about functions in calculus for which the value of f of x is either increasing or decreasing respectively with an increase with the value of x, okay? So that means an increasing function, like what I said in the previous video, dy over dx is greater or equal to 0, but if it's just greater than 0 only, it means it's a strictly increasing function. And also you can have dy over dx to be less than or equal to 0. That means it's decreasing. Or if it's just less than 0, it's strictly decreasing. So because I'm aware that most people are also writing, okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to write what I just said so that you can take notes as well. So when we say an increasing, so an increasing and decreasing functions, so these are functions in calculus. So which the value of f of x increases and decreases respectively. Okay, with the increase in the value of x. Okay, so when we say an increasing and decreasing function, these are functions in calculus for which the value of f of x either increases and decreases respectively, depending if it's an increasing function or decreasing function with the increase in the value of x. So we use the derivative, like I said, the derivative x dy over dx. So the derivative dy over dx of the function. So we use the derivative of the function. So let's call the function f of x. So it's used to check. So we use it to check the behavior to see if it's increasing or decreasing. Of the increasing and decreasing function. Okay, so a reminder, let's just talk about what I spoke about in the previous video. So I told you for increasing, okay, when we say an increasing function means that dy over dx, okay, is greater or equal to 0. But I also told you that when we say strictly increasing, okay, when we say strictly increasing, what we are saying for strictly increasing, we mean that dy over dx is greater than 0, okay? And the second one is what we call decreasing function. So decreasing function, like I said, dy over dx is less than or equal to what? 0. But when we say strictly decreasing, okay, so when we say strictly decreasing, now what we mean is that dy over dx is less than 0. So when it's strictly, it's just less than 0. But when it's just generally a decreasing function, it's less than or equal to 0. Okay, so how do we solve this? There are 3 rules or 3 steps on how to do this. Okay, 3 rules or 3 steps. The first thing you have to do is that you have to differentiate the function. Okay, after differentiating the function, the second thing that you do then is then you have to then equate it to the right inequality. Okay, so this is a very good place. Make sure you've reviewed my video. I have a video series on inequalities, and I've shown you how to calculate it and how to solve questions of inequality. So please make sure you go back and review that. Okay, so you equate it to the right inequality. So if it's increasing, okay, if it's an increasing function, so it means the y over dx is greater or equal to 0, or it could be strictly increasing. It means the y over dx is greater than 0. So it could be strictly. So this is for strictly increasing. So I've talked about this before. All right. Or it could be decreasing. All right. So in decreasing, we know the y over dx is less than or equal to 0. Or it could be strictly decreasing when it's just less than what? 0. So it could be strictly decreasing. Then when you've done that, number 3, what you then do, you then simplify. Okay, so the first thing, you differentiate the function. The second thing, you equate it to the right inequality. The third thing you do, you simplify. All right? Okay. Example. So the first thing you have to do is that let's pick an example and see how we solve that. So let's say we have this question here that says find a set of values of x, which, okay, f of x. Now, in this case, we're told that f of x is increasing, all right? So we want to see f of x is increasing. So the keyword here, we're told that we should find the set of value of x for which is increasing. So let's start with the first one, a. So we have f of x is 2x squared plus 2x plus 1. So we're told to find the set of values for which f of x is increasing. So let's go. Step 1. If you go back, we're told to differentiate the function. So this is a very good part for you to go back and see, review the mechanisms of differentiation. I've talked about several mechanisms. So, and I showed you how to differentiate. So we have y is equal to 2x squared plus 2x plus 1. Now, when you differentiate this, the y over dx, it's going to give you, differentiate this, it give you 4x plus 2. Are you seeing it? Now, step 2, we're told that it's an increasing function. So we have to equate it to greater than or equal to 0. But if the question was strictly increasing, you would have dy over dx to be greater than 0. But because it's just increasing, so dy over dx is greater than or equal to what? 0. So that means dy over dx, for it to be increasing, must be greater or equal to 0. So therefore, 4x plus 2 will be greater or equal to what? 0. Okay? Now, step 3, what were we told to do? We're now told to that we have to then simplify. So please go back, review my videos on how to solve inequalities. All right, so I have a video on that. So please go back and have a look. So greater or equal to 0. We take 2 to the other side. So it's going to become 4x is greater or equal to minus 2. Then we divide both sides by 4. So x is going to be greater or equal to minus 2 over 4. And therefore, if you simplify that, it's greater or equal to minus 1 over 2. So for this function to be increasing, x must be greater or equal to minus 1 over 2. All right, let's pick another one. So let's assume we're looking for the same thing, f of x, for increasing to be 3x cubed minus x minus 7. All right, so you can pause the video, try and solve it and see if you get the same thing. All right, Okay, so the step one, which I believe is that we have to differentiate the function. So we have step one, we know y is equal to 3x cubed minus x minus 7. So if you differentiate, this is differentiating a polynomial, and this will give us 9. 3 times 3 will give you 9, x squared minus 1. Step two, we're told it's an increasing function, right? An increasing function. So as step two, it has to be dy over dx is greater or equal to 0. So let's go. So that means for it to be increasing, dy over dx must be greater or equal to 0. So that means 9x squared minus 1 is greater or equal to what? 0. Okay? So let's go to the next step, step 3. All right, step 3, we then have to what? Simplify. So we have 9x squared minus 1 is greater or equal to 0. Take 1 to the other side, so 9 is going to be x squared greater or equal to 1. Divide both sides by 9. We have x squared is greater or equal to 1 over 9. So I showed you how to solve quadratic inequalities as well. We've done this before. All right, so what you now have, you sketch the graph, have follow the rules I gave. All right, then what you now have the square root both sides. So you're gonna have x, which is now going to be because it's 1 over 9, so it's gonna be plus or minus. So it's gonna be x to be less than 1 over 3, and x is going to be greater than 1 over 3. Okay, so I've shown you how to solve this. Please go back to the previous video. Like I said, in this video, I'm not talking about inequalities. I'm just introducing the concept of increasing and decreasing function. So I have assumed that if you watched my videos on inequalities, I understood how to solve quadratic inequalities and all linear inequalities as well. Okay, good. So let's go to the next quiz. The next example. Let's assume we are having f of x, okay, and we're told is 2x plus 8 over x, okay? Now, step one, we have to differentiate it. So y is going to become 2x plus 8 over x. Remember, I told you that you have to put this in an index form before you differentiate. So it's going to be 2x plus, this is the same thing as 8. So remember, it's 8 over x, right? So it's the same thing as saying 8 times 1 over x. Are you seeing it? 1 over x is the same thing as saying lots of indices, x to the power minus 1. And this will give you 8x minus 1. Does that make sense? So this is going to give you 8x minus 1. All right, so let's clean this up. So we've written that in an index form. Now we can now differentiate now. So dy over dx is going to give us, if you differentiate 2x, it's going to give you 2 minus 1 times 8 to give you minus 8x minus 2, right? Now, step 2, we're told it's an increasing function, all right? Because the question said increasing. So for it to be increasing, the y over dx must be greater or equal to 0. So remember, if it was strictly increasing, all right, it will be greater than 0. But because it was just increasing, so it's greater or equal to 0. So that means 2 minus 8x minus 2 is greater and equal to what? 0. Step 3, we now simplify, which I believe you can do now. So we'll have 2 minus 8x minus 2 is greater or equal to 0, okay? So what do? In order to remove this, we multiply through by x squared in order for me to remove the minus 2, because I want to remove the minus 2, so I multiply through by x squared. So I'll multiply both sides. Okay, by x squared. So because to remove this minus, so it's going to become, I'm going to multiply each of them by x squared. So I'll multiply this by x squared, I multiply this by x squared, and I multiply this by x squared. Then this will now give me 2x squared minus, this is going to cancel out, 8 greater or equal to what? 0. Are you seeing it? So I take minus 8 to that side. So it's going to give me 2x squared is greater or equal to 8. Divide both sides by 2. And x squared is greater or equal to 4. And I've shown you how to do quadratic inequalities before. So you can use difference of 2 squared. So if you take x squared to the other side, so it will be x squared minus 4 greater or equal to 0. It will be x minus 2, x plus 2 greater or equal to 0. And when you now solve this, it's going to become x is less than or equal to minus 2, and x is greater than or equal to 2. So I've done all this before in quadratic inequalities, okay? So I'm not going to spend so much time on that. So please go back and watch the video quadratic inequalities and linear inequalities and make sure you understood it. So we've talked about this. I've shown you all the steps on how to solve it, when it's greater than, when it's less than, when we talked about quadratic inequalities. So just go to the playlist, search for inequalities if you've forgotten, and watch the video and remind yourself on how to do it. All right, let's pick one more example for this. So the last one we talked about, find the set of values for which f of x is increasing, okay? Let's pick one for decreasing, okay? Let's do one for decreasing. So number 2, let's say, let me bring this away. So find the set of value of x, okay? Find the set of values of x, which f of x is decreasing. Okay, for which f of x is decreasing. All right, so let's pick one. So we have f of x. We're told f of x, for instance, let's say it's maybe x cubed plus 2x squared plus 1. All right, so we're going to follow the same principle. Step 1, we differentiate. Now, we differentiate the function first. So let's go. So step 1. So we know y is going to be equal to x cubed plus 2x squared plus 1. So we're going to differentiate it because all of these are in index form, okay? So dy over dx is going to give us, if you differentiate this, it's going to give you 3x squared plus, this is going to give us 4x, okay? Now step 2. After doing that, the next thing that we have to equate it to the right inequality, to the right, okay? To the right inequality. And here we're going to be talking decreasing. So that means it's going to be dy over dx is less than or equal to 0. But if it was strictly decreasing, it could have been dy over dx is less than 0. So you can go to the textbook and the worksheet. There'll be some questions on increasing and decreasing. So some could be strictly increasing, some could be strictly decreasing. So regardless of the question, if it's just decreasing, it's less than or equal to 0. If it's strictly decreasing, it's less than 0. So in this case, it's just decreasing. So in decreasing, so we're going to go. So because it's decreasing, so dy over dx is less than or equal to what? 0, okay? Then let's move on from there. Then we have the dy over dx here is 3x squared plus 4x, okay? So that is it. So that means the dy over dx, the 3x squared plus 4x must be less than or equal to what? 0. The next thing you do, step 3. Now, if you look at this now, all right? The first thing you will notice as well is that this is also a quadratic inequality now. So please go back to my video and watch how to solve quadratic inequalities. It's very important. But and all the steps, I have steps, I think some steps and rules on how to solve quadratic inequalities, linear inequalities. And it's very important you review that video series before you come here. Is that okay? So we have 3x squared plus 4x is less than or equal to 0. In the video, I told you the first thing you have to do is to factorize. So how do we factorize this? The best way to use this is going to be common factors will be the best method here. To be x, it will be 3x plus 4 is less than or equal to 0. And I also told you that if it's less than or equal to, each of the common factors is going to be x will be less than or equal to 0. And 3x plus 4 is greater than or equal to 0. Please go back and have a look. So that means x is less than or equal to 0. So for this one, I will take 4 to the other side. So it's going to be 3x is greater than or equal to minus 4. And I divide both sides by what? 3. So so divide by 3, divide by 3. So x is going to be greater or equal to minus 4 over 3. Okay, so we can also write this together. So I told you how you can combine inequalities as well. So that means we can write it as minus 4 over 3. So that means x is greater than or equal to minus 4 over 3, but less than or equal to what? 0. So this is the values for x for which this function is going to be what? Decreasing. So x is going to be between minus 4 over 3 and 0. Okay? Let's pick another example. So let's assume we're having f of x. We have 5 plus 27x minus x cubed. Okay? 5 plus 27x minus x cubed. The first thing, step 1. So we have y is equal to 5 plus 27x minus x cubed. The first thing you have to do is to differentiate. So the y over the x. So you can see in this example, all are in index form. So you can go straight and differentiate straight ahead. So if you differentiate 5, it will give you 0. If you differentiate 27x, it will give you 27. And minus x cubed is going to be 3 times minus x cubed will give you 3 times minus 1 will give you minus 3. X, you subtract 1, 2. All right. Now, because it's a decreasing function, the y over the x is going to be what? Less than or equal to what? 0. So this is going to give us 27 minus 3x squared is less than or equal to what? 0. Okay, so we go straight to step 3 now. All right. So we have to simplify. So it's a quadratic inequality. So you have 27 minus 3x squared is less than or equal to 0. Okay. Any way you want to do it, you can take 27 to the other side. So you have minus 3x squared is less than or equal to minus 27. We divide both sides by minus 3 now. So remember I told you when we're talking about inequalities, when you divide by minus, the sign is going to change to the next direction. Are you seeing it? So it's going to give you x squared is greater than what? 9. So this is another example of quadratic inequalities. So either you use any of the method I talked about. You can take 9 to the other side, and you have x squared minus 9 is greater or equal to 0. Then difference of 2 squared, you factorize. So it's going to be x minus 3, x plus 3. We talked about this in inequalities. Then, because it's greater or equal to 0, so that means x is going to be less than or equal to minus 3, and x is going to be greater than or equal to what? 3. Please, if you forgotten how to solve inequalities, please go back and review the videos on quadratic what? Inequalities. Is that all right? Okay. All right, so let me give you some questions to try. Okay, so let's assume you have this question here. Let me get this out. Let me just write exercise so you can try yourself. We have number 1. We said find the set of values of x of which f of x is decreasing. Okay, so let's assume you have this one. So we have x squared minus 2 and 2x minus 1. And you are told to find the values for which this is decreasing. Number 2, let us do the same thing, but now for increasing. So find the set of values of x of which f of x, now this time f of x is what? Increasing. So we have A, f of x. We have x minus 6 squared. B, we have f of x. We have 3x squared minus 2x cubed. And C, we have f of x. We have x cubed plus 6x squared minus 15x, let's say maybe plus 8. Okay, something like this. Now, I want you to try this. Try and solve this question yourself. You can put the answer in the comment section. You can write the answer in this comment section. You can discuss with your friend and compare your answers and see if you got the same thing. And if not, if you can, if you're still struggling with it, you can just send me an email, or you see me around the college or in the university, and just let me know. I'm going to just help you out with this. And if also you're still struggling a bit, you need some clarification, feel free to drop me an email and I'll get back to you. And that'll bring us to the end for how to find increasing and decreasing functions, okay? So the best thing to do, the first thing you do, you differentiate the function. I've shown you all the mechanism of differentiating. I think I did about 15 mechanisms. All right, so go back and make sure you look at review the 15 mechanisms. After you've done that, you have to equate it to the right inequalities. If it's increasing, it's greater or equal to 0. That is for dy over dx. But if it's strictly increasing, it's just greater than 0. If it's decreasing, it's less than or equal to 0 or just less than 0 if it's strictly decreasing. And after that, you then simplify. All right, so the next one I'm going to go straight to is the stationary point. That's the next video I'm going to talk about. So stationary point, I'm going to talk about what happens at stationary point, how to find stationary point coordinates, how to find the nature of a stationary point. So I'm going to see you in the next video. And it's important that you subscribe, click the notification bell, because when I post the next video stationary point, you'll be the first person to know. So I'll see you soon, and I'll see you in the next video.